he made in the land of the living, that his son also may fight to conquer even the nations that hated the name of the Lord and sworn to themselves that the Amalekites will prevail against Israel. For wherefore we have come to a holy place, that we shall call the status of the Lord in the land of the living, that the temple may be rebuilt in Jerusalem. I declare right now upon your life, I don't know what the conclusion is, I don't know what they are saying, but the man of God says there is bounceability. I see you bouncing back right now. Come on, shout like your voice is yours.
And speakers, Prophet Seth Boateng, USA.
But the Bible said, when they were all turning sheep on the fields, the Bible said that the sheep of Joseph stood upright, and that of his brethren bowed. I'm prophesying to 70 people here that when everything is failing, you will stand upright. When every business is collapsing, your business will stand upright. When every marriage is collapsing, your marriage will stand upright. Everybody's finances is crumbling, your finances will stand upright. Somebody said, I am standing still. It doesn't matter the wind that blows, it doesn't matter the storm that blows. I stand still. I am unmovable and I'm unshakable. Rejoice not over me, all my enemies, because you think I'm down. I shall rise, for the righteous shall fall 7 times, but the 7th time he rises up again. Let them throw their best weapon. I will stand still and they will bow to me.
And Apostle Bryant Hagley, USA.
I am here to announce to somebody, don't look at your present situation and think that God has forsaken you. You might not know. Bible says, for the eyes of God is searching around, seeking whom he may be blessed. And maybe you might be the one God is looking after today. You might go through some defects, you might go through some leprosy, you might be going through some hardship of life, you might be going through some difficulties and challenges of life, but I hear a sound of abundant rains, and God is saying, I am about to lift up somebody, I am about to deliver somebody, I am about to lift up a soul, I am about to lift up a servant in this house. Somebody say, I am the one.
From 27th October to 5th November 2017, 6 p.m. each night, and on Sundays at 9 a.m. Join us for our music concert on Saturday at 4 p.m. with Apostle Fletcher Na and Tebaho Madla and many, many more. Venue, Eagle House, corner Theans and Phil Street, Kempton Park, Johannesburg. For more information, please contact 08243-36794 or visit our website on eroministries.com. Come with your dancing shoes. Let us celebrate the power and mercies of our Lord Jesus Christ with a word, prophecies, and miracles. Join Eagles Revival Outreach Ministries as we commemorate our 4-year anniversary with host Prophet Daniel Darkwah.
Why have you gone through the things you've been through? God is making you deal with the lion and the bear, so that when you come to the marketplace of life and you see small challenges, you will be like David. He said, how hast thou made me to run through troops and leap over walls? I see you leaping over walls. I see you running through troops. By his might you are leaping over walls. I don't know what you are fighting right now, I don't know what you are contending it right now, but the Bible said, blessed is the Lord who teaches my hands to war and my fingers to fight. For how has he made in the land of the living, that his son also may fight to conquer even the nations that hated the name of the Lord and sworn to themselves that the Amalekites will prevail against Israel. For wherefore we have come to a holy place, that we shall call the status of the Lord in the land of the living, that the temple may be rebuilt in Jerusalem. I declare right now upon your life, I don't know what the conclusion is, I don't know what they are saying, but the man of God says there is bounceability. I see you bouncing back right now. Come on, shout like your voice is yours.
And speakers, Prophet Seth Boateng, USA.
The Bible said, when they were all turning sheep on the field, the Bible said that the sheep of Joseph stood upright, and that of his brethren bowed. I'm prophesying to 70 people here that when everything is failing, you will stand upright. When every business is collapsing, your business will stand upright. When every marriage is collapsing, your marriage will stand upright. Everybody's finances is crumbling, your finances will stand upright. Somebody said, I am standing still. It doesn't matter the wind that blows, it doesn't matter the storm that blows. I stand still. I am unmovable and I'm unshakable. Rejoice not over me or my enemies, because you think I'm down. I shall rise, for the righteous shall fall 7 times, but the 7th time he rises up again. Let them throw their best weapon. I will stand still and they will bow to me.
And Apostle Bryant Hagley, USA.
I am here to announce to somebody, don't look at your present situation and think that God has forsaken you. You might not know. Bible says, for the eyes of God is searching around, seeking whom he may be blessed. And maybe you might be the one God is looking after today. You might go through some defects, you might go through some leprosy, you might be going through some hardship of life, you might be going through some difficulties and challenges of life, but I hear a sound of abundant rains, and God is saying, I am about to lift up somebody, I am about to deliver somebody, I am about to lift up a soul, I am about to lift up a servant in this house. Somebody say, I am the one.
From 27th October to 5th November 2017, 6 p.m. each night, and on Sundays at 9 a.m. Join us for our music concert on Saturday at 4 p.m. with Apostle Fletcher Na and Tebaho Matla and many, many more. Venue, Eagle House, corner Theans and Phil Street, Kempton Park, Johannesburg. For more information, please contact 08243-36794 or visit our website on eroministries.com. Come with your dancing shoes. Let us celebrate the power and mercies of our Lord Jesus Christ with a word, prophecies, and miracles.
Today, I am sitting with two very special guests. On my left, we have the head pastor and the visionary of Eagle Revival Outreach Ministries, Prophet Daniel Darkwah, and his wonderful and beautiful wife, Mama Debbie Darkwah. Now, let me just give you a brief introduction about the man we're speaking to today. He is a great preacher, a great prophet. He is a great father to many spiritual sons and daughters from around the world. He is an author, a family man, and a pastor and a guide to many. I am honored to be speaking to the phenomenal man of God, Prophet Daniel Darkwah. Greetings, man of God.
Thank you very much. Greetings.
Greetings, Mama Darkwah. It's such an honor to have you in the studio today. Now, let's just get right into this interview, because I know a lot of people out there just want to know a lot more about you. There's an African saying that says that no matter how big a tree grows, it starts off as a small seed. Prophet, can you please tell us more about your childhood, where you grew up, where you were born, any interesting childhood memories that you have?
Wow, thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity. And I want to extend my greetings to all our viewers on Facebook across the world. And thank you for tuning in. I believe that you're going to have a very good time with us tonight. I was born in the city of Accra,
in Ghana, a very small place in the West Africa region, a population of about 20 million people. I was born into a big family, and fortunately and unfortunately, I happen to be a boy among many women. So I grew up with about 6 to 7 sisters,
Oh my God.
and I had to endure my childhood living with my sisters. So growing up in that big family, life was not so easy. My dad was a politician,
Yes.
and a chartered accountant,
Oh,
and also a businessman. So he, because of his political affiliation with the new Patriotic Party in Ghana,
yes.
in 1992, my dad was the spokesperson to the president. So they did not win the election, and my dad was very vocal and very outspoken. So now, when the other government retained power, they attacked all my dad's businesses. I remember one early morning, we were going to school, myself and my sisters, and an ammo car, a military car, just appeared in front of our house, packed. Soldiers came out and they started beating my dad, and it was such a horrible scene. My mom collapsed. They beat him until they felt that my old man was dead,
You.
and then they left him lifeless, but eventually he made it. We took him to the hospital. So after that, my dad could not recover in life anymore, because they closed down his businesses and everything because of politics.
Yeah.
It was hard growing up in that difficult environment,
Yes.
going through school, going to school every day and being sacked because of inadequacy of funds. My parents couldn't cater for our school fees, so it was very difficult. You get sacked all the time. It got to a time, it was so funny that when teachers or the headmaster came to the class to
Yes.
come announce the people who have not paid school fees, when he walks in with a list, before he mentions any name, the students mention my name, because they know that definitely I hadn't paid my school fees. But by God's grace, I tried to push through school.
Yes.
My mom was very dedicated to seeing that we go to school, though she did not have the funds. Sometimes she had to borrow from neighbors, borrow from friends, and etc.
Yes.
And by God's grace, I've been able to reach where I am. At a point, I had to do business to support my education.
Yes.
I started selling paraffin at the age of about 13. I was selling paraffin. We call it kerosene back home. I was selling paraffin, and then I went into rabbit farming. So I started breeding rabbits, and then when I breed them, I will sell them. So I made much money, and through that, I had to take myself through school, and then after school, I had to also help my sisters to also gain education. So growing up was a lot of struggle,
Yes.
but grace saw us through.
Oh wow, what a story, what a childhood. But then I want to ask you another question. Who in your childhood made the most impact in your life?
I think the person in my childhood who made a lot of impact in my life is my mom, my superhero. I'm very close with my mom, though sometimes we agree to disagree as every human institution. But my mom is very Christian-like and very spiritual. So growing up, my mom always took me to prayer camps, retreats, revivals, because I was the only boy at home,
Yes.
and I was a bit naughty. So my dad was giving me a lot of toughness.
Yes.
So my mom saw that I needed extra attention
Yeah.
in order to become better. So my mom always hanged around me, encouraged me, took me to prayer camps and all that. So my mom was my childhood hero.
Yes.
She inspired me a lot. She would teach us how to pray, how to fast, how to read your Bible. I remember there was a principle at home whilst growing up: no prayer, no food.
Sure.
Yeah, no prayer, no food. So mom will force you to pray.
Yes.
So as small as we were, we could really pray.
Yes.
We could really pray. Yeah.
Wow. So we thank God for your mother, because she's the one that really kept you in the line that you are in.
That's correct.
Prophet, how did you start your ministry? I know a lot of people are interested in this question. This is the the main question that most people want to know. Who were your mentors when you started? Who did you look up to? How that very, very initial spark of ministry?
Ministry for me, it's a very technical question because I was born into the Church of Pentecost. Our whole family is a Church of Pentecost family. So we grew up in Church of Pentecost Sacrament Assembly in Dansoman, and then eventually my dad was a leader in the church, so we got transferred to Trinidad Assembly. Now, my first person I looked up to when it comes to ministry, I feel that it's my parents, because they were such a big role model for us at home. The first person I ever heard prophesying was my dad, you know, where he would wake up in the morning and say that things were very tough. Sometimes we eat only bread and water for the whole day, the whole family, one loaf of bread, and then we have to share it. And we used to brush our tooth with, washing powder, because we could not afford a Pepsodent or something to clean our tooth with. So growing up, I saw there were days my dad would go on his knees and cry and say, God, send us help. And immediately somebody would knock at the door. And that was a lot of inspiration for me. And my dad was an assistant pastor at Everlasting Gospel Church, which is also headed by Dr. Obain in Dansoman as well. So growing up, I saw my dad was very forthcoming in ministry and very dedicated. So my first mentors in ministry were my parents. At the age of 10, I used to gather all the children in our area in Dansoman. Every evening, they come to our house for fellowship, where we put milk tins, cans of milks, and we start playing music. We do praise and worship and etc. And after I will preach and I will lay hands on the people, some of them will fall. Though we were joking, I don't think it was the anointing that was making them fall, but we were having fun. And we practiced, because I went to a lot of prayer camps with my mom. Whatever I saw at the prayer camp, when I come back home, I practice it. So I was a little bit advanced than all the kids. So I was their prophet. And I remember we had some slogans. Recently, one of my childhood friends called me and he said, hey, you were playing with being a pastor. Actually, you have really become a pastor. And one of the slogans was, Jah Jehovah. We watched a Nigerian movie where the pastor was like, these gown pastors, these gown prophets. They wear white gown. And when the spirit comes on the man, he will be jumping like this. And then he will turn around and they will ring a bell. And then the man will shout, Jah Jehovah. Then the church members will shout, Shah Shalom. Jah Jehovah, Shah Shalom. So childhood, we used to play with that. But then an unfortunate incident happened and my dad had to close the church. What happened is that one day we were praying and then I said one girl was a witch. Her name is Susie. So when I said she was a witch, when my dad came back from work, they told him. And my old man got very upset. So he beat me up that night, and then he said no child should step foot in his house again. So then we had gathered a lot of offering. Every evening we used to collect coins. I'll ask them to donate to the ministry. So we had a lot of money, and my 12th birthday was not too far from then. So what my mom did is that she put all the money together, and on my 12th birthday, she made a big party, and all the children in the neighborhood came. So first role models in ministry were my parents. Now the second one is a man of God by name Dr. Sakwamante. Dr. Sakwamante. I met this man when I did not know how to preach. I did not know anything because I had a raw Christian background. And the man discovered me among many students in Bible school. We used to go there for prayer and impartation. I didn't even know him. So it was one of my seniors in Bible school, David Apo, who was going to see the man. And then he asked me to escort him. So when we got there, I saw that the man of God was very anointed, but it was not my business. So I was sitting in the corner. So when the man passed and then he saw me, he said, hey, young man, how are you? And then I said, I'm fine, thank you. And when I spoke, he says, I like you. Come to my office. So I went to the man's office. We started having interaction. And he lost interest in my friend. and he started getting along with me. So the man put his hand in his pocket, gave me money. I went back to Bible school, and then he asked me to come back again on the Sunday. When I came on the Sunday after service, I was monitoring the church.
Yes.
It was a very small church, not that big then. And I realized that there was no youth in the church. So I proposed to the man of God that I want to start a youth ministry with him. And he was kind of not very sure, because he was looking at how I was dressed and, my shoe, and I didn't look proper.
Yes.
And I said, I want to start a youth ministry, and I'm not even a member of his church. So the man did not really budge into it. Neither did he deny it. He left me hanging. So I spoke to one of the presidential candidates in Ghana.
Yes.
His name is Pakwesi Indom. So I went to Pakwesi Indom's office. He was then contesting as a president, and I had a meeting with him that I have a vision to start a program called YCMC, which means Young Christian Millionaires Club,
Yes.
where students come together and we think about some of the Christian business opportunities we could explore. So after speaking to Dr. Pakwesi Indom, he took me to one of his juniors, Joe, and told Joe that anytime I need Coconut Grove Regency Hotel in Accra for anything, I should be allowed. So then I organized my first YCMC conference, and I invited my mom, my neighbors, my mates from school, and I invited the senior pastor who had newly found as the speaker of the program, because I did not have much to say, and I did not have the capability to speak. When the man walked into Coconut Grove on that fateful Saturday, the whole hall was packed, and the man could not believe that someone like me could do such a work. So from that day, the man took me personally. So God used me to make a lot of impact in the ministry. He automatically put me in the pastoral board.
Yes.
As young as I was. And I started students ministry for the church, and the church was doing very well. On Sundays, we used to come to church with buses from University of Ghana, Legon, IPS, Central University, and most of the universities around. So Dr. Sakomante was really very impactful towards my life, and he really transformed me. He really transformed me. How to dress, how to talk, how to comport yourself. He taught me a principle that even when you go pray for someone, you don't have to collect money. He really refined me. And meeting Dr. Sakomante, I was coming from Koforidua and Mankasim. I was coming from the village where I went to learn prophetic ministry, because my parents discovered the gift was there. Yes. So I was trained by Prophet Joe Graham and Odifo Atta. Yes. So coming from a village into a city church, it was quite challenging, and we give credit to Dr. Sakomante. He's one of the men that really influenced my life. And then after meeting Sakomante, I grew, and I saw one inspiring man by name, the Archbishop Nicholas Duncan Williams. I'd watched him from far. I'd admired the man from far. I'd loved him from far. Now it was left to how to get to the man. Yes. And the Archbishop is such a big and influential man. It's not easy to reach out to him. And I joined Action Chapel. I became a member in Action Chapel. I started serving. Eventually, I got posted to one of the branches of Action Chapel. Yes. I traveled with one of the pastors. I know you remember Bishop Freddie Dodu. Yes. We went to Ashoman Estates. We started Action branches and etc. And through grace, one day I was recommended to meet the Archbishop in person. It was such a heartwarming moment. When a man laid hands on me, that whole week I did not bath. The whole week, when the Archbishop laid hands on me, that whole week I did not bath. Reason is because I did not want to bath the anointing off my head. Yes, and till today, the Archbishop has been the most outstanding person in my life. Nevertheless, I've had many men of God who have played major parts in my development. I did not just become who I am, yes, or I am not just where I am because I am doing well, or I'm doing an effort or making an effort. I met many people, yes, many people who played a major part in my upbringing. But for me, at this moment, these three people stand out for me my parents, Dr. Sako Mante, and Archbishop Nicholas Duncan Williams.
So, Pastor, those are your roots, your real roots.
Those are my roots.
Now let's go to the roots of the ministry, Eagles Revival Outreach Ministries, which we all know is turning 4 this year. Pastor, what made you make that decision to start Eagles Revival Outreach Ministry?
Eagles Revival Outreach Ministries is a ministry God gave to me 10 years ago.
Yes.
And I was preaching in Nigeria, in Sapele. So I was sleeping in my hotel. There were a lot of mosquitoes in that hotel. So that night I did not sleep. And I was very frustrated inside the auditorium, in the hotel room. So whilst in the hotel room, the Lord said to me, Daniel, pick a pen. I want to tell you something. I was very excited. I thought maybe God wants to give me a Western Union code or MoneyGram, because that time life was a bit interesting for me.
Yes, Pastor.
Then God says I should write the letters. So God did not tell me the name of the church. God did not tell me the name of the church. Now God gave me the letters for the church. Now I'm going to show a very interesting flyer tomorrow.
Yes.
A flyer that was done 10 years ago. And the church location was in Captain Park. On the flyer. It's on my Facebook wall. 10 years ago. And I did not even know that the church is one day going to be in Captain Park.
Yes.
I had no clue. I had no idea. Even me, I've forgotten myself. I'm just remembering now. So I wrote the name of the church, and then I did not even have plans of coming to South Africa. Eventually, through Dr. Sako Mante, a door opened for me here. And then I came to South Africa. But I was traveling in and out because I was still in school.
Yes.
And I was still reading courses and etc. So eventually, God commissioned me to come back to South Africa and stay here. Yes. It was such a difficult thing to do because things are done quite differently in South Africa.
Yes.
And ministry is totally different from what I know from back home.
Yes.
So eventually, God said, start a ministry. I did not start it immediately. It took me 4 years to be convinced because I had so much fear of starting a church. I had so much fear. One of the fears that I had is that, number one, will I be accepted by strangers? Number two, am I ready for starting a church? Number three, did I really hear God's voice?
Yes.
Number four, what is the way forward? How is it going to happen? What is the technicality involved in this? So after 4 years of intensive prayer, whilst there, I served a church by name Spread the Word Ministries in Johannesburg. And I served there for some years. After I moved to one of their branches to go start a branch for them as well. Yes. And then after a year of pastoring the branch, I asked for the man of God to release me. And I started Eagles Revival after that. I sat down with him and I asked him for his blessings. And we started very small. You know, the first day of the service, I think there were not more than 10 people in the service. That's how we started.
And then, Pastor, I think you've already answered my next question, so I'll just move on to the next one. What were the challenges that you had being a Ghanaian, coming into South Africa to start a church? Speak more about what challenges and walls did you had to break down in order to really make it like you have in this country?
Being a Ghanaian in South Africa in the first place is very difficult. I have come to believe that South Africans are very, very nice people, very hospitable, very caring, and very loving. Nevertheless, because of the history of the country, with foreigners, with apartheid, with xenophobia, there can be a lot of restrictions and walls. But not every South African is racist. Not every South African is xenophobic. Not every South African is full with hatred. They're amazing South Africans. Now, the first wall that I faced was pastors from South Africa. You know, pastors from South Africa, most of them are not very welcoming. And most of them are not very friendly. The moment they see that you are a pastor from, you know, I like the way they put it. You are a pastor from Africa. You know, South Africa is not part of Africa. What they literally mean is that you are a pastor from West Africa. Yes. They refer us as the Africans. Nevertheless, we are happy with it. But one of the first walls that I had to face was with pastors. So God connected me to a man of God by name Apostle Peter Tutu Balang. And when I started the church, I went to his house and I met him. He's a South African, but I believe that he's a different South African. You know, that man gave me a lot of faith in the work I was about to do, because I was panicking the way every South African pastor doesn't want to deal with a foreign pastor. They were very aggressive and there was a lot of rejection. But the man was very welcoming. I remember I invited him to preach in our first conference after 6 months of starting the church. We did not even have money to pay for his coming and going. We did not have money for his honorarium, but yet the man came. And, you know, through him, I got a little faith that there are still good people here. So that was the first wall I had to deal with. Now, the second wall I had to deal with was the mixture of the people I met. I met a recycled group of people. Now, because of the gift of God upon my life, the people I met in my first initial stage of starting Eagles Revival were not people who were looking for Christ. They were people looking for solutions to their problems. So these are people coming from different churches, and they were not committed in the ministry. I thought that I had members, but they saw me as a prophet, not their pastor. So what they do is that they come to church regular. They go to their church, and when they are done with their church, they will come to our church. You know, our place was like a spiritual place for them, where they nourish themselves and they fix their problems and all that. But you know, when it comes to tithes, when it comes to offerings, when it comes to donations, they were not committed. So financially, it was very challenging. Very, very challenging. You know, sometimes the whole place is full, but when the month ends and we have to pay bills, nobody's interested. Now, when you become a little bit pushy, you know, to encourage the people or telling them that they have bills to pay, the following Sunday, the membership just drops. Everybody disappears. So one of the other challenges that I faced was the people, or the kind of people I met. They were not really people who were looking for salvation. They were people who were already saved, looking for answers to their problems. Very challenging.
Pastor, you've touched on some very important topics in the ministry environment in South Africa. And one of those stigmas is that a lot of South Africans believe pastors from outside the country are coming to get money and all those kind of negative type of opinions. What do you have to say to people who actually think like that and who say things like that?
I know that a stigma has been tagged in a stereotyped manner that all pastors who come from, you know, other parts of the world to South Africa are here for money. But the good thing I want to share with you, as I was indicating earlier on, that the church could be full, yet we could not pay our bills. So there's a woman I prayed with back in Ghana who was dealing in oil.
Yes.
And I gave her a prophecy many years ago, that she was going to have a breakthrough. So this woman had forgotten about me. And when we started the church was without instruments. I was even scared to ask the people for instruments because they could not even pay for the bill. The rent of the church. So one day I got a phone call from one of my mates from Ghana.
Yes.
And he said that I met that woman you used to go pray with. She has been looking for you for 5 years. So I gave her your South African number because I told her you relocated. And then the woman called me. When she called me, she said the Lord said to her that she must bless me with money. So that money has been sitting down for 5 years. And she saved it in an account. So the account had also accumulated interest. And, you know, I started shaking on the phone. And I was very impatient. The next thing I said to her is to transfer the money. But that time, I did not even have legal papers in the country. I was an illegal immigrant. I didn't have papers. So even if she sends the money, I can't go to Western Union and I don't have a bank account. So then there is a friend of mine by name Pastor Richard who deals with Asian Holdings and Capitals. So I asked him to transfer the money to Asian Holding and Capitals. He transferred the money. And then when the money got to them, they have a branch here and they paid me. When I went for the money, I almost collapsed because I thought the money was like maybe $5,000 or, you know, $2,000. The money was huge. You know, so that night I did not sleep. I kept the money under the bed. And I have a friend who regularly used to visit me. That day when he knocked, I told him that I'm sick. I can't come out of the room. So he must go and come later because I was so scared. And you know how crime is in South Africa.
Yes.
So eventually the next day, I called a few guys. We went to a music shop and we bought instruments, and then I was living in a wooden house. It was somebody's house I was living in, and the person partitioned his lounge with a wood. So I was sleeping in the lounge where the wood is. And they will play crazy music throughout the night and all kinds of funny alcohol and a whole lot of things. So the next move after the instruments was to get a house. And after I got a house, I was struggling with transport. And I realized that where the church was located then, many people did not have transport. So when church closes, people couldn't go. And eventually what I had to do was to buy a car. And when I bought a car, I started helping people. Now, what is this whole history I'm trying to say? Now, I want to say that my origin of strength financially does not come from South Africa. Even till today, where the ministry is, the biggest blessing I have and the people that really support me financially are not South Africans. Most of my income comes from other parts of the world. So this whole thing of people coming into South Africa to become rich is a stereotype thing that is not really real. You know how many people I've adopted in this church that I pay their bills and I pay their school fees. Yesterday like this, we had to adopt another orphan to pay her bills, school fees, clothing, and food. So I do not believe that every pastor who has come from Nigeria, Ghana, Malawi, and all that, all of them are here because they need money. But I believe that some people are here with a genuine motive to affect and to impact the people of South Africa.
Now let's move on to the evolution of the ministry. Now the church has moved to various locations over the years. Let's go through the story. Let's weave through it like we're weaving the basket story of Eram. Let's start off at the very first place that you had a service, the very first official service of Eram.
The very first official service, I don't know if my wife wants to say something. Okay, let me finish before she talks. The very first place we started the service, the unfortunate thing is that we started in a Jewish community, and the owner of the place was a Jew, and the place was not given out to church. So when we were looking for a place to start a church, I had a dream of the place, and the next day I was driving past with a friend of mine. So when we saw the place, I told him that we should go there and inquire. We went there, we inquired, and the security guy told us that the place is not available. It cannot be given to a church because previously there was a church there and the church caused a lot of problems. So it will not be allowed for us to start services. So what we started is that there's a woman in Pretoria by name Osmole. She had a car garage that could only park 2 cars. I remember you were in the garage with us. You were there with us. My wife was there with us. Not more than 10 people could fit in the garage. So we had to park chairs outside the garage. And then we started in that garage. So we will pray, clap our hands, worship God until God touched the heart of the people in Waverly for them to accept us. And then we started church there. When we started church there, they did not really have a problem with us because we're still in 20s, 30s, 20s, 30s. But when the numbers moved to 50, 60, and the place became busy, and we started praise and worship. We had instruments and microphones. The Jewish people and the people in the community started threatening us, coming to stop us in the middle of the service, and threatening to take us to court, threatening to shut down the church, and etc. So out of the frustration, we had to start looking for a place. Now we looked for a place all around Waverly, and we could not find a place. Now the place that was very close to my former church was the only place that was available. There was a place that was vacant to my former church. The pastor, I pastored his church, Reverend Chris Oguala. And one commitment I've made in my life is that I will never break anybody's ministry. So what I did is that I did not go to that place. Rather, God blessed us with a place in Midrand. Now, from Waverly to Midrand is almost an hour, and most of the people did not have cars. It was very challenging. So most of the leaders in the church then had a meeting with me that the decision I've taken is very dangerous. Already we are 50 to 60. We are not stable yet. The church is now trying to be stable. So if we move such a distance, we will lose everybody. But when I fasted and prayed, God says our blessing is in Midrand, so we should go. We had faith, we moved, and when we got to Midrand, the numbers doubled. The first place we came to could only take 50 people. And after about 3 to 4 months, the number grew from 50 to about 100.
Yes.
And we even started 2 services.
Yes.
So eventually we had to hire an extra place in that same venue. We filled up the place. We became like 150. Now we couldn't fit in anymore.
Yes.
We had to expand again. So the church became an L shape. And then we moved to 200. And the church became big that we could not fit in that place. So we had to move to another place. So we moved to another place called Pesco Park.
Yes.
We were in Pesco Park for only 6 months. When we got to Pesco Park, the church was very on fire. We spent a lot of money. We decorated the place. The church was looking so beautiful. And there was a lot of motivation. We ordered for new clothes for the choir, suits for the ushers. There was a lot of energy in the church. So our first Sunday, second Sunday, a neighboring pastor comes to us and say that there cannot be 2 churches in the same complex.
Yes.
So he promises me he will kick us out of the place. Yes. In fact, I was very discouraged. I did not share with everybody. I shared with a few pastors, Pastor Collins and then Pastor Emmanuel. I said that only today is our second day. Yes. And already we are being kicked out. So immediately Natasha Grayling called me, who was the estate owner, and she phoned me and she says, Pastor Daniel, I think you are in trouble with us. And I said, what did I do wrong? He says, you know what, the pastor next door does not want any church, and the most sad part of it is that he says you are from Nigeria and he does not like Nigerians, so you have to pack out. And I said, no, Natasha, we cannot go that road. And he says, okay, then you can't use instruments. You remember?
I remember.
You can't use instruments. You cannot do this. You cannot do that. And then the numbers in the church started decreasing.
Yes.
It started decreasing because the morale
Yes.
died. Now we had to change the time of service from 8:30 in the morning till 12:30 because then the pastor next door did not want to see us.
Yes.
He finishes church at 12. So he says he only wants us to come in when he's not in the compound.
Yes.
So we had to wait for him to finish. When we started, he finishes at 12, 12:15, 12:30. It got to a time he was finishing at 1,
Yes.
1:30. He was still doing services. And our church people will be sitting in their cars outside. Some get frustrated, they go home. And some did not also like coming to church in the afternoon because they were traditionally Sunday morning worshippers.
Yes.
So we lost a lot of members there. It became very frustrating. And then, the legal matters became very persistent. And
Yes.
eventually, we had to move out of the place. And then we went to Bites Conference Center. We went to Bites Conference Center. Mr. Paul Campbell, who is the managing director of Bites, is my very good friend. He said to me, Pastor, we cannot help you with a morning service. We can help you with an evening service. Already, we moved the service from 8:30 to 12. Now, we have to move it from 12 to 3 o'clock. No, 12 to 6 o'clock, which was very crazy. So we started at 6 and closed at 9:30, 10. People's wives were complaining. People's husbands were complaining.
Yes.
People with kids were worried how their kids would go to school on Monday after driving hours to church. So it was also another thing. The numbers dropped again.
Yes.
It was very frustrating. And then after about a month of living in Bites, we sought God's face. We started praying, and the place got filled again.
Yes.
God started blessing us. People started coming in. It got exciting again. The second month, we started having overflow to the extent that sometimes we even have to arrange chairs on the side.
Yes.
Then, just when it was getting exciting, Bites had to go through renovation. So they are going to close Bites Conference Center
Yes.
for 2 months, so that they can renovate. So in the process of the renovation,
Yes.
we have to do something. We have to either stay home for 2 months
Yes.
or close the church for 2 months. And I said that is not possible. The church still have to go on. So now I spoke to the leadership of the church. that we need to buy a property. So we got a land in Midrand,
Yes.
a very huge asset, and by God's grace, we paid it in cash. We
Amen.
paid it in cash. Now, when we got the property and we were supposed to move to the property, our intention was to buy tents,
Yes.
and then in the interim, we'll be worshiping there. That one, whether the tent is nice or is not nice, it is our
It's
tent.
our problem, yes.
Nobody will tell us what time to come in and what time to go out. Unfortunately for us, after we paid the land and everything went smooth,
Yes.
and we started plowing the land, clearing the land, church members coming to see the land, we thanking God. A woman opposite the land approached us and said, "Hey, who are you guys?" And we say, "We are a church." She said, she will never sign the municipal agreement for a church to stay there. Now that day, our hopes again went
Dropped.
down. When we thought we had just made it, bought our own land, now another person says they will not allow us. So now we have another serious problem.
Yes.
Now, Bytes only had one Sunday for us, and
Yes.
after that Sunday, we don't have Eagles Revival anymore. So I told my wife that night I can't sleep home.
Yes.
She must come with me. So we started driving around. We were talking, we were praying, and we're sharing our thoughts.
Yes.
How can we jump past where we are? But very interesting, very interesting. That morning,
Yes.
before the Sunday, I got a call from a woman who is a military woman in the church. She visited us that short period. She's not even a member of our church. She told us that there is a big church in Captain Park,
Yes.
which is about a 2,500 auditorium seater, and they are looking for people to buy the church.
Yes.
And even if we don't have money, we must just come. They will give the place to us. And I said, this is too good to be true. So I didn't even want to be involved, because at that moment I was very discouraged.
Yes.
So I sent the leadership of the church, and then I asked them to come and look at the place. When they came, they said the place was good, the place was nice. I was still not convinced.
Yes.
But we were left with just one Sunday. So whether I was convinced or not, I had to come and look at the place. Now, when I listened to some of the leaders, they said the place was also too far from where we are now. So we will lose members again. And they don't want us to lose members. And I said, let me take a step of faith. In fact, when I walked in here,
Yes.
I saw that the place is lovely.
It's
It had
beautiful.
everything I prayed for. And it had exactly the same plan on the land we wanted to build.
Yes.
So it means God had already prepared a place for us.
Yes.
So when we moved in here, we negotiated with the people. They gave us a good offer. We signed the deal, and that's where we are now. So the transition has not been easy. Not too many churches will survive this mini movement in a short space of time,
Yes.
and still be able to retain the amount of people or the numbers of people
And
we have
still
in
grow
church,
as well.
and still grow as well.
Yes.
It's not very easy to jump locations. I'm not talking about 10 minutes drive, 20 minutes
No.
drive, 1 hour apart from each other.
Yes.
And we've been roaming all around until God settled us here.
Yes. I would just like to cross over to your beautiful wife. Mama, can you please tell us how it was to support this man of God in growing this church, in moving to all these various places? Like, how did you feel? What did you have to do? What did you have to do to support the man of God?
Well, Sis Fuller, it was not an easy journey, not at all.
Yes.
Because remember, he's also a father, and he's a father to all the people in the church.
Yes.
And he also has responsibilities at home.
Yes.
So now, when the man is stressed,
Yes.
how then do you support him? How then do you support his vision?
Yes.
And he's one person that when he thinks of something, he follows through with it. Most of the time, he'll say, you know what, this is what I want to do. And it sounds so huge that it will fill you up with fear.
Yes.
But he's brave enough to actually follow through with it and say, you know what, I want to do this. Let's do this.
Yes.
So most of the time when he comes and he says, this is what I want to do, we know it's something he's thought about. He's thought about, all the plans. If it fails, then what? If it doesn't fail, it goes through, this is what I'll do, and so on. So supporting such a person, you have to support them in prayer.
Yes.
And also be able to listen to their plans, that this is what I want to do. What do you think? So that they come back home and say, you know what, these are my plans. How do you feel about them? What do you think will will happen. But at the same time, you have to also be able to allow them into that space that, you know what, God has given them a vision to do something. So you can't really fight the vision, but you have to support them. So prayer, that most of the time you'll come home and say, you know what, let's go for a drive. That's when I know that something is coming. Something huge is coming. And that's what he does most of the time. Let's go for a drive. And then he'll just drop the bomb on you. And this is what we want to do. With all the moves, I personally also even said that it's a bit too risky to move from one place. And we've moved so many times. I mean, we started in Waverley. Starting in Waverley, it wasn't so many people. We moved to Motor City. Now we have to break down the walls and then get a lot more people coming in. So now we found a group of people that have now started to support the vision as well. If these people are supporting the vision, they are committed, and then we have to move again. So my one worry for him was that what happens to all these people? And he said, you know what, life is a journey. You will meet people, they come for certain seasons. And in that season, people will be around, but God will grow their vision. So it's such a wonderful thing to actually have somebody in your life that you actually learn from. And I mean, every day is a learning curve for us all. It's a learning curve for me, but I mean, it's for all of us, all the leaders of the church. You'll come and present an idea, we follow through with it, we support. So I think love, support, prayer, and also just being there for the person is what has been able to help us to, you know, just to push through all the visions that he's had for the church.
My next question, a very interesting question. The ministry is now 4 years old, Pastor. And we know that your own personal ministry is much longer than that. Pastor, can you tell us some of the most important lessons that you have learned? Not just about the ministry, but about your life. Speak about the challenges that we have had.
The most important lessons I've learned about life and ministry is that never write anybody off. Never write anybody off. I am not somebody too many people give a chance, because my background gave me a disadvantage. I had to deal with inferiority complex when I was growing up, because my neighbors had to give us their worn clothes and their torn shoes. You know, during Christmas, we could not wait. I remember there was a family that was living behind our house. It was a rich family, and they traveled overseas and all that, you know, something we've never dreamt of. So during Christmas, when they come from the US and the UK and all that, they throw their old shoes that are torn away. And every Christmas day, I was waiting for that. I would go for those shoes, I would go for those clothes, and I'll wash them, clean them, and sew them. And that's what I use for school. So growing up, not too many people gave me a chance. Now, growing up also among my siblings, my cousins, in a family house, I was the least among everyone. I was someone that nobody really predicted I could do well with life. I dropped out of high school. All my mates went ahead of me. But today, by God's grace, I hold masters, about 2 degrees, and some of my mates don't even have a degree. But in high school, I was a dropout. Currently, I'm still studying, doing my PhD course and other courses. You know, so I do not believe that anybody in life can be written off. I believe that we are all work under construction, and God is not done with anybody. So my advice to our viewers and anybody watching us is that the people around us, we should give them the maximum support, and we should give them the maximum love they need, because we never know who among us God can show mercy to. My biggest lesson of ministry:
Your biggest lesson.
never write anybody off.
Never write anybody off. You have heard it from our great man of God. Right now, we're just going to cross over to a short break, and we'll be right back with more insightful lessons about Iram and about the man of God. Stay tuned. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Join Eagles Revival Outreach Ministries as we commemorate our 4-year anniversary with host Prophet Daniel Darkwah.
Why have you gone through the things you've been through? God is making you deal with the lion and the bear, so that when you come to the marketplace of life and you see small challenges, you will be like David. He said, how hast thou made me to run through troops and leap over walls? I see you leaping over walls. I see you running through troops. By his might you are leaping over walls. I don't know what you are fighting right now. I don't know what you are contending it right now, but the Bible said, blessed is the Lord who teaches my hands to war and my fingers to fight. For how has he made in the land of the living, that his son also may fight to conquer even the nations that hated the name of the Lord and sworn to themselves that the Amalekites will prevail against Israel. For wherefore we have come to a holy place, that we shall call the status of the Lord in the land of the living, that the temple may be rebuilt in Jerusalem. I declare right now upon your life, I don't know what the conclusion is, I don't know what they are saying, but the man of God says there is bounceability. I see you bouncing back right now. Come on, shout like your voice is yours.
And speakers, Prophet Seth Boateng,
What
USA.
the Bible said, when they were all turning sheep on the field, the Bible said that the sheep of Joseph stood upright and that of his brethren bowed. I'm prophesying to 70 people here that when everything is failing, you will stand upright. When every business is collapsing, your business will stand upright. When every marriage is collapsing, your marriage will stand upright. Everybody's finances is crumbling, your finances will stand upright. Somebody said, I am standing still. It doesn't matter the wind that blows, it doesn't matter the storm that blows. I stand still. I am unmovable and I'm unshakable. Rejoice not over me or my enemies, because you think I'm down. I shall rise, for the righteous shall fall 7 times, but the 7th time he rises up again. Let them throw their best weapon. I will stand still and they will bow to me.
And Apostle Bryant Hagley, USA.
I am here to announce to somebody, don't look at your present situation and think that God has forsaken you. You might not know. Bible says, for the eyes of God is searching around, seeking whom he may be blessed. And maybe you might be the one God is looking after today. You might go through some defects, you might go through some leprosy, you might be going through some hardship of life, you might be going through some difficulties and challenges of life, but I hear a sound of abundant rains, and God is saying, I am about to lift up somebody, I am about to deliver somebody, I am about to lift up a soul, I am about to lift up a servant in this house. Somebody say, I am the one.
From 27th October to 5th November 2017, 6 p.m. each night, and on Sundays at 9 a.m. Join us for our music concert on Saturday at 4 p.m. with Apostle Fletcher Na and Tebaho Madla and many, many more. Venue, Eagle House, corner Theans and Phil Street, Kempton Park, Johannesburg. For more information, please contact 08243-36794 or visit our website on eroministries.com. Come with your dancing shoes. Let us celebrate the power and mercies of our Lord Jesus Christ with a word, prophecies, and miracles.
Hello, viewers. We are back and we are still getting a lot of information about the church and a lot of information about the man of God. Pastor, through all your years of ministry, have you been betrayed before?
This is a very interesting question. If you talk about betrayal, last weekend I was in Lesotho in one of our branches. Sorry, and I promised the people there, one of the messages I owe the church is one of you is a devil. The title of that message is one of you is a devil. Because of my level of openness, love, dedication, and commitment to ministry, I opened my life, my house,
Yes.
my everything to people.
Yes.
And I believe that ministry is really a learning curve, because the more you do ministry, the more you gain experience.
Yes.
And there are some things in life only time and age can teach.
Yes.
So in these 4 years of pastoring a church, betrayal has been the order of the day.
Yes.
Wherever there are people, there will always be betrayal. People don't betray you because you're a bad person. If that is the case, then Jesus would not have been betrayed. Jesus was sitting down with his disciples, and then he said to them that one of you is a devil. And that is the message I owe the church. I'm going to preach it after the anniversary. One of you is a devil. Now, one of the betrayals that really hit me was I've had 3 dimensions of betrayal.
Yes.
3 dimensions of betrayal. The people I look up to, many of them betrayed me.
Yes.
The people at my level, many of them betrayed me. And the people that look up to me, many of them have betrayed me.
Yes.
So I've faced all the dimensions of betrayal. You know, when I started the ministry, I'm still young. I've done quite some crazy mistakes and some things that if you give me the opportunity to do again, I would rethink about doing them. And in the midst of this, you know, I encountered a lot of challenges.
Yes.
And a lot of trouble and a lot of affliction. And I began to speak to senior men of God.
Yes.
Some of them I invited to my church or our ministry so that they will give me counseling and they will advise me. Now, what some of these senior men of God did is that when they come into the ministry, they come and stamp their authority as senior men of God. And they make me look like a useless person who doesn't know what he's doing. And most of the things that I shared with them, they share it with my leaders.
Yes.
I remember I ran myself into trouble some time ago, and I ran into a man of God's house. I went with my wife in the middle of the night to say that, you know, I've created a very big mess, and I need him to use wisdom to help me. So he came to church, had a meeting with me and my leaders, and I encouraged them to support me through the difficult period, and asked me to excuse him and the leaders so that he will give them counseling. When I left, he told the leaders that they are so foolish to follow a man of God like me. I'm such a small boy. I'm so stupid. How can they support such a person like me instead of them to support great people like him with their resources? And, you know, I was so shocked. And my leaders came back same day and told me that, hey, the man, when you left, this is what he said. And it was such a big deal. He's not the only one. I've invited some big men of God from Ghana who, you know, in the Ghanaian ministerial circles, they are regarded as spiritual fathers, mentors, and all that. And some of them, I had seen them stab, you know, me at the back.
Yes.
In the midst of inviting them to my ministry to come and preach. When they come and cause a mess. They betray me for what I made them to stand for.
Yes.
I've introduced some of them to great politicians in this country, ministers of state. When you take them there, they want to cut your daily bread. So they take bad news about you, evil reports about you, so that they stay connected to those places. That is my first level of betrayal. The second level of betrayal are my mates in ministry.
Yes.
You know, our dispensation is a very difficult dispensation. Everybody is sharp in the prophetic. Everybody is a good preacher. Everybody is a good teacher. And we are all well educated. You know, when I speak to my colleagues, some of them are doctors, some of us are lawyers, some of us are, you know, engineers and all that. So there's a lot of competition. It's not just spiritual giftings. And I am not in a race with anyone. And I am not in a competition with anyone. But, you know, whenever you are doing well, you generate enemies. And by God's grace, what this church has been able to achieve in 4 years, some of them have churches for 10 years, some of them have churches for 8 years. They don't have any of the things we have. Just a few weeks ago, we've bought buses for church, etc. And many of these churches are 10 years old, 15 years ago. They don't even have a motor bicycle. So, you know, when you get close to them and they see all these things, they see the honor, the respect, the love, and the favor you have. Some of them easily get intimidated. The Bible said the brothers of Joseph hated him when they saw that he had a coat of many colors. So the amount of colors you have determines the amount of enemies you attract. So many of my spiritual brothers, they smile with me. They call me prophet. They call you bishop. They call you man of God. But many of them are sycophants. They say it whilst you are there. But, I've had a pastor friend that I invited to come and pastor in our church. We went to the same Bible school. When he joined the church, he tried to go start a ministry with our members. He came all the way from Ghana with a registered name of a church. But I bought his ticket, rented a house for him, and did all the necessary nitty-gritties for him. So when it comes to betrayal, we've had it from the top level and from also my own level when it comes to my colleagues and all that. Sometimes you discuss something very personal with someone, you share some challenge with someone. The next thing is somebody else knows somewhere, and I'm talking about your own colleagues in ministry. And some of them do that because what God is doing in your life, He's not yet done it for them. And then the last level of betrayal comes from the church members. I thought that everybody who came to church is a God-fearing person.
Is looking for God.
Is looking for God. But I realized that everybody in the church has their own reason and their own agenda for coming to church. Even my leaders, everybody has an agenda for being a leader. Even my pastors, everybody has an agenda or a motive or a reason why he or she is a pastor. So from the church side of view, my spiritual sons and daughters, I have had sons that I have lifted up, and when they get up, they try to push you down. Giving them opportunities, opening doors for them, helping them to establish their family, helping them to discover their ministry, and etc. It comes with a lot of hurt. If you see that I have a big stomach, and you wonder why I have a big stomach, it's because a lot of people have stabbed me from the back. So the more they stab me from the back, the more my stomach becomes big. So betrayal is something that I have really experienced in ministry. It has made me and my wife, we are more careful, more wiser, more smarter than we used to be. We have learned serious lessons from betrayal.
Yes. And then, Pastor, my next question: through all these challenges and hardships in the ministry, what has kept you going? What has kept you strong? And you haven't given up. You becoming even more greater and greater as the years go by.
What has really kept me in the ministry this very moment is three categories of people. Number one, my family. My family has been very supportive from the word go. I mean, my wife is a gift from God. I married her 4 times. For those of you watching who care to know, I married my wife in what's the name of the venue? Klooster. I married my wife in Klooster. I married her in Home Affairs. I married her in Lobola. I've married my wife 4 times. Yes. And if I get another opportunity, I'll marry her again. I don't think that there is any woman on earth who moves my heart and blood like this woman does. The reason is because of the love, the support, her prayer life, and her understanding for ministry. When I look up to her, I got her saved. I got my wife saved. I got her to speak in tongues. I got her to know God. I got her to know ministry. So she looks so much up to me. And I do not want to let people like her down. And my kids love church. They love ministry. My mom, my sisters, my brother-in-laws, these are people that give me a lot of energy and encouragement. Yes. So they are one of the number one reasons why I keep on. Number 2, I have people in my life like yourself who have been with me for 4 years. People like Mama Matilda, Mama Refilwe, Mama Katleho, Mr. Matlow. These are people who walked into my life, and I have made a difference in their life through the ministry God brought to South Africa. And I've seen people come and go, but they still remain. Yes. And one day I decided to pack my bags and relocate to America with my family. I arranged for a house in America. I already sent church of members there. I took visas, paid plane tickets, took them there so that we start a ministry in the US. Yes. And eventually, I had to look at Mr. Matlow, Mama Matilda. Where were they going to go to church? Yes. They have always been eagles. They can't change from being eagles. And such loyal people, they are so rare and scarce. I look at my pastors like Pastor Collins, Pastor Emmanuel. They make such a difference in my life. And these guys look up to me. So if I am not there, one way or the other, I have killed the destinies of many people. So people like that, they keep me going. Number 3, the only person that keep me going finally is my enemies. I love my enemies so much that they expect me to fail. And they are one of the reasons why I choose to push. The Bible said Joshua got to the promised land with one leg. The Bible did not say he got to the promised land with his feet. He said leg. Leg means one. Though he lost his leg in the battle of the Amalekites, he still made sure that he touched the promised land. So people who never believed in me, people who criticize me, people who disrespect me, people who dishonor me, I leave my ministry for them so that they see that God can glorify himself through weak and vulnerable and useless people like me. He takes the foolish things of this world to confound the wise. So those people who think that this guy don't deserve to be a pastor, this guy is not anointed, this guy is not called, this one is not a real prophet, those people, they keep me going. I've been around for some time, and I'm going to be around for a long time.
Amen. And right now, we are going to move to the next question, which is about what we are doing here, the 4th year anniversary. Mama Debbie, could you please give us more information about this celebration?
Well, God has been so good to us, so why not celebrate it and just, glorify him for who he really is. He's done such marvelous things in our lives, and we have to give him the glory. So as the church, and with our visionary, of course, we have a conference that's coming up. I think it's about 10 days, if I'm not mistaken, 10 days of God's glory. So we have sessions where we go out for evangelism. This Saturday, we went out for evangelism. This coming Saturday, we also have more evangelism teams going out into the communities that we work with, Eden Park, Kempton Park. We also have Midrand. We have all over that we can reach. And on the 27th, of October, this month, that's when the anniversary is, the celebration is starting. But before that, Pastor also announced that on Sunday, we have the pre-anniversary celebration. So you can imagine how much effort has been put into this celebration, that on Sunday, we have a celebration, the 27th, which is next week. The anniversary is starting. Saturday, we have a float that will be going around. We have flyers. If you look behind us, we have this wonderful banner that has been put up. Outside in the streets, we have a trailer as well. We have flyers going around. We have pastors going around with evangelism teams. On Saturday, we have a float, the 28th. We have a float. There'll be a celebration. There'll be a fun day for the youth of the church. We also have a brass band that will be going around. Everybody will have an opportunity to come and celebrate. The community around the church will also be able to come and join us as we celebrate God's glory. The Sunday, we continue up until the 5th of November. But on the 4th, we also have a musical concert. But, to top everything off, we have 2 and more wonderful men of God that are coming to bless us. We have Prophet Seth Amoa Boateng from the USA. We have Apostle Brian Chagli, who's also coming. And of course, our Father will also grace us with his presence. I mean, we cannot have a celebration where our Father just does not lay hands on his children. So a lot has gone into this. The church is excited. We are excited. There is more that is going to come. And I know also on the 4th of November, where we have the musical concert, we have a lot of powerful men of God, ministers. We have Apostle Fletcher that will be here. Minister Tabo Homatla will be around, obviously. And also our Eagle Voices. They have been here every single night practicing. Every single night. They've been here every evening practicing because, they want it to be amazing. And that's what we aim for, excellence. So our Father said, this is the vision. And we have decided to run with it. There are teams going out, evangelism. Tomorrow, a lot of evangelism teams are going out to evangelize to people, to bring souls to the kingdom of the Lord. Because at the end of the day, we have to bring people into the kingdom. But, church is not about being all serious. About, we hear the word and we go home. But we have to touch people, to bless lost people, to bring the lost, to save people. And what a wonderful way to do it, but to celebrate with your own people. So I personally cannot wait. We have t-shirts. We have so much that people can invest in for the anniversary.
Yes.
So much. And I mean, we're also inviting people. Facebook, our media team has been working wonderfully on this concept. And I believe it will be such a wonderful program. And if anybody wants to attend, they're welcome to attend. Transport has been organized. So we've really gone out to make sure that it is a success. And all members are excited for it.
Yes. Wow. The God of possibilities. That's the theme of the conference, right?
Yes, that is the
I
theme of the
certainly
conference.
can't wait. And I know all our viewers and every member of Aram and visitors, we can't wait. We're very excited for this. Unfortunately, we have come to the very end of this insert. This has been one of the most insightful and impactful moments of my life. I have learned so much from you, Papa, Mama. You have truly blessed me. And I know you have blessed so many people out there that are watching. This is a place where you learn, you grow, your spiritual life will grow, your mind will grow. So I just encourage people out there, tune in again tomorrow. This is wisdom right here. Papa, you said something that is going to stay with me for the rest of my life, that the number of enemies that you have is the number of colors that you have on your coat. And I know next time, tomorrow when we come back again, make sure you have a pen and a paper to write down some of these memorable moments of wisdom that we've just had. So this is the end, unfortunately, but we'll be right back tomorrow. Please, same time, same place. Don't miss out. And we'll also be speaking again more about the anniversary and more about where Iram is going, the future of Iram, more interesting stories about ministry, about the ministry of Iram. And thank you so much. God bless you, Mama. God bless you, Papa. We'll see you again tomorrow. Thank you and God bless you.
So that when you come to the marketplace of life and you see small challenges, you will be like David. He said, how hast thou made me to run through troops and leap over walls? I see you leaping over walls. I see you running through troops. By his might you are leaping over walls. I don't know what you are fighting right now. I don't know what you are contending it right now. But the Bible said, blessed is the Lord who teaches my hands to war and my fingers to fight. For how has he made in the land of the living that his son also may fight to conquer even the nations that hated the name of the Lord and sworn to themselves that the Amalekites will prevail against Israel. For wherefore we have come to a holy place that we shall call the status of the Lord in the land of the living, that the temple may be rebuilt in Jerusalem. I declare right now upon your life, I don't know what the conclusion is, I don't know what they are saying, but the man of God says there is bounceability. I see you bouncing back right now. Come on, shout like your voice is yours.
And speakers, Prophet Seth Boateng, USA.
But the Bible said, when they were all turning sheep on the field, the Bible said that the sheep of Joseph stood upright and that of his brethren bowed. I'm prophesying to 70 people here that when everything is failing, you will stand upright. When every business is collapsing, your business will stand upright. When every marriage is collapsing, your marriage will stand upright. Everybody's finances is crumbling, your finances will stand upright. Somebody said, I am standing still. It doesn't matter the wind that blows, it doesn't matter the storm that blows. I stand still. I am unmovable and I'm unshakable. Rejoice not over me, all my enemies, because you think I'm down. I shall rise, for the righteous shall fall 7 times, but the 7th time he rises up again. Let them throw their best weapon. I will stand still and they will bow
now to me.
And Apostle Bryant Hagley, USA.
I am here to announce to somebody, don't look at your present situation and think that God has forsaken you. You might not know. Bible says, for the eyes of God is searching around, seeking whom he may be blessed. And maybe you might be the one God is looking after today. You might going through some defects. You might go through some leprosy. You might be going through some hardship of life. You might be going through some difficulties and challenges of life. But I hear a sound of abundant rains, and God is saying, I am about to lift up somebody. I am about to deliver somebody. I am about to lift up a soul. I am about to lift up a servant in this house. Somebody say, I am the one.
From 27th October to 5th November 2017, 6 p.m. each night, and on Sundays at 9 a.m. Join us for our music concert on Saturday at 4 p.m. with Apostle Fletcher Na and Tebaho Madla and many, many more. Venue, Eagle House, corner Theans and Phil Street, Kempton Park, Johannesburg. For more information, please contact 08243-36794 or visit our website on eroministries.com. Come with your dancing shoes. Let us celebrate the power and mercies of our Lord Jesus Christ with a word, prophecies, and miracles.